Hi, welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this super cute snowman scrubby. We're going to make this scrubby in two different parts. You're going to make the face, and then we're going to make two hats, and then sew them all together, and then attach the different bits to the face to actually give it some character. Once the whole thing is complete, you have a very nice solid scrubby, which is perfect for a stocking stuffer or maybe for that teacher in your life that you just aren't sure what to give, but she knows you're a crocheter and it's time to give her a gift. This is going to be perfect, okay? So look down here, I'm going to show you what you need. The first thing I want to mention is that this is a free pattern available over at redheart.com. The link to it is down there in the video notes. It's called the Snowman Scrubby by Michele Wilcox. In this pattern, you're going to need several different balls of Red Heart Scrubby yarn. So you'll need whatever colors you want to use to make your actual snowman scrubby. Beyond that, you're going to need an eye crochet hook and a yarn needle. Go ahead, gather your materials and the pattern. Join me back here. I'm going to get you started on the face of the snowman. You've got your materials and your pattern. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slip knot on my hook. If you need a refresher on how to do a slip knot, please check out the slip knot video right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Once I have the slip knot on the hook, I'm going to do 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's a little difficult to see the chain stitches as you're working along with the scrubby yarn because of the eyelash nature of the yarn. But if you find where the top of your chains are, where it looks like that nice V, you'll have no problem finding where you need to put your stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to put 11 double crochets into the very first chain we created. So we're going to skip 3 chains, come down here to the very first one, and we're going to do 11 double crochets all into that one chain. So there's 2. Oh, tricky. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I am not going really slow on my double crochets because this is an intermediate pattern, and I'm assuming that you already know how to do a double crochet when you're stepping into an intermediate pattern. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to join with the slip stitch to the 3rd chain of our beginning chain. Now typically I will use a stitch marker and mark the 3rd chain there, but I wanted to be able to show you guys what it looks like if you don't use a stitch marker. Essentially what you have to do is kind of guesstimate and pull the initial chain away and find where the top of this stitch is, where your post. So I found my post. There's the top of my post. So I know that the stitch right behind that is the 3rd chain. So I'm going to go ahead and join with my slip stitch right there to form a ring. Okay. Now I'm on to round 2. So for round 2, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and this chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet now and throughout. So this is, I am going to use my stitch marker, and I'm going to place it into the 3rd chain I just created. If I do it right now, I can easily place where that is because it's right behind the chain that's on my hook. Once I have that on there, I know that I can carry on with the rest of the pattern. And I'm going to do a front post double crochet around the beginning chain of round 1, and then I'm going to do 2 front post double crochet around each post in this whole round. Now this entire pattern for the face is completed doing front post double crochets at the intervals listed for each round. So once we get through this round, you're going to really understand how to do the subsequent rounds. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over my hook, and I'm doing a front post double crochet. So I'm coming to the front of my work, going into the right side of my post, coming out the left side and back up. Yarn over, draw through my hook, and bring my hook back through the same path. So I'm back to the beginning point, and I'm ready just to complete my regular double crochet. Now, given that this chain 3 counts as a double crochet, this here counts as our 2 front post double crochets for that particular stitch. So we're moving on. We're going to put 2 front post double crochets in the next stitch. So I'm going into the right side, going behind the post, out the left side, yarn over, and follow that same path and complete my double crochet. And I do that one more time. Yarn over my hook, into the right side, around the post, out the left side, yarn over, come back, complete my double crochet. I'm going to do this in each post all the way around. Once you've done this round where you've completed all the front post double crochets, you'll move on to the subsequent rows. And as I said, you will work in intervals where you'll have plain front post double crochets between your increases. Once it's all complete, you'll get to 72 double crochets, and then you'll do one whole round where you just do a plain front post double crochet round. And so you get something that looks like this. To me, this is brilliant. When Michele Wilcox designed this and made it so that we're doing front post double crochets, it's so much easier to work into these stitches, finding the post of the stitch versus the top V part of the stitch, given the nature of the yarn. Not to mention that also by working into the front post, if you look at the back of the work, you get these really nice ridges because those are the tops of the stitches that are being pulled to the back because we're working with the front post. And so those act as like even more scrubby nature for this particular scrubby. It's fantastic. As I was making this, I was like, this is just brilliant. It made it so much easier to work into my stitches. I want you to go ahead and finish the face of your snowman, and then join me back here, and we're going to talk about the placement of the eyes and the mouth, and then how to make the nose, and then we'll move on to make the hat, okay? All right, so that was fun, wasn't it? Working into those front post double crochets. Now we're going to get our embroidery on. How about that? We're going to put the eyes onto the face of our snowman right now. Look down here, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Michele Wilcox has us start off by going ahead and doing a chain 4. So I'm going to start off with a slip knot yet again. And I know that this is going to be difficult to see because it's black yarn, but because I don't want to put a different color for the eyes of my snowman, I'm going to go ahead and use the black yarn. I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain. So I'm going to come back here to my first chain, and I'm going to do a slip stitch all the way through. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to cut my yarn. Now I'm going to cut my yarn leaving a nice little length. The reason is that's the end of it, okay? That's how we're going to do our eye. This is our eye. So what we need to do is we're going to sew our eye to the snowman, looking at our snowman right here. And when we do this, we want to make sure we're not taking the tails all the way through to the back side. We want to try and keep them as much on the surface as possible. So I'm going to do one of these at a time, meaning I'm going to do one tail at a time. And I'm going to just thread this right onto my bent tip tapestry needle. And I like to use these steel needles, you guys. If you're using a plastic one, I highly recommend you go and grab yourself a steel tip one, okay? Excuse me. Now, knowing that my nose of my snowman is going to go right here in the center, I'm going to come up just a little bit, and I'm going to place my eye right here. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to pick this up so hopefully you can see. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to thread it through the post of the stitch. So I'm actually threading through the stitch. I'm not going to the other side. And I'm going to sew my eye on. And I'm just going to do this all the way around. So I'm going to grab a stitch and come on up. And then maybe I come down and I come through another one. And I'm making sure I'm not going through to the other side, remember? I'm just grabbing through some stitches and back up to the eye just to sew this in place so it doesn't go anywhere, okay? Once I get this whipped around a little bit, I could go ahead and I could tie a knot in the tail and just tuck my tail in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave my tail right through here, and I'm going to trim that. So that's one tail. So I've got to do that quickly to the other one too, right? Because you don't want to have this one hanging out. Looks like it's stitched in. Looks kind of funny. And I'm just going to use this tail, and maybe if there's a spot where it looks like maybe I need to have a little bit more black to fill in the space, I can use the tail of my eye to go ahead and do that. And I think I've done a pretty good job here. There's not a whole lot of extra stitching I have to do. So I'm just going to pull this through. And as you can tell, the yarn, it wants to really grab because it's the scrubby yarn. So using the steel bent tip tapestry needle, you guys, will really make things so much easier. You want to make sure you have one of these bent tip tapestry needles, okay? Don't use the plastic one. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to trim that up. And there's one of the eyes, okay? So that's how you're going to make an eye. Let's go ahead and jump in and let's make the nose really quickly. I'm not going to do the other eye at this point because you already know how to do that. So let's see how we're going to make the nose. Now the nose, if you can see here, it's actually three-dimensional. Look at that. It actually sticks off of the snowman. It's kind of funny. It makes you want to like grab it and grab this whole thing just to go scrub. It's really great. So to do the nose, we're going to grab the color of the nose. This is really bright neon orange color is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 7. So again, I'm putting the slip knot on my hook. I'm going to slip that out of the way and I'm going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now I can kind of, if you think about this, if you've never worked with the scrubbing yarn before, I like to say that if you let your eyes kind of unfocus and let the eyelash of the scrubby kind of blur out, you can see the stitches you're going to be working into. So if you're struggling a little bit, try that. If that doesn't work, always rely on your fingertips to really feel where those stitches are. You'll be able to find them with no problem. We're going to single crochet in the second chain from hook. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do my single crochet in my second chain from hook, and then I'm going to do a single crochet in each stitch to the end. So I'm going to end up with 6 single crochets. So there's 3. Oop, I accidentally skipped one. And here's 4. And there's 5. And then 6 right here. So I have 6 single crochets. I know it looks like a hot mess, but I promise there are 6 single crochets right there. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to single crochet in the first single crochet, and then I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together. So to do that, I go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and draw through all 3 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to single crochet in the next 3 single crochet. So 1, 2, and the last one, it's right here. I got to make sure I get into the whole thing here, and 3. So now I'm back, I'm down to 5 single crochet. I chain 1 and turn. I single crochet in the first. I do a decrease in the next one, so let's do that again. I go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch over, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and draw through 3. So I had 2 stitches that now I've created and I'm back to only 1. I'm going to single crochet in the last 2 single crochet and I'm down to 4 singles. Chain 1 and turn. And I'm going to single crochet 2 together twice this time. So I'm going to go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. I'm going to do that one more time. You should be able to do this pretty easily now that you've done it several times and I've gone through all 3. So now I'm down to 2 single crochets. I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. So I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to cut my tail, leaving a little bit of a tail because I'm guessing I'm going to have to use that to sew things in place. And then it says I'm going to sew the side edges together to form a cone. So I'm going to sew this edge and this edge together using this tail. So if I put those together just like that, let's go ahead and thread my tapestry needle here. Love these bent tip tapestry needles, and you can get them over at the redheart.com website, you guys. They are the Susan Bates steel bent tip needles. They're fantastic. I'm just going to grab an edge right over here, and I'm just going to whip them together pretty easily, because the nature of this yarn is that it's going to hide a multitude of sins. So I don't have to worry about it being too absolutely perfect, right? I just want it to be closed. So it looks like a carrot nose. Go ahead and sew this together to form a cone. And then once again, we're going to sew this nose to our actual face of the snowman. So once this is all nice and closed together, I'm going to make sure I close it a little bit better right there. There we are. So I have this nice little cone right there, and I can pull my working snowman face back into play, and I can put it right here in the center of the snowman's face. And using my tail, I can go ahead and, just like I did with the eyes, I am going to work through the post stitches that I've created, not going through to the opposite side, and begin to sew this into place. All right, if I kind of carry around, I'm going to make sure I have some length of yarn here. And I'm just going to kind of come down and up. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. As I said, it is so wonderful that this yarn really hides a multitude of sins. I am not a seamstress. I mean, I like to sew, but sometimes sewing things together like this, like little pieces to, you know, snowman faces, it's not one of my fortes. I'm not really the greatest at it. So I really love the fact that I can use this yarn that hides a lot of my little mistakes. And plus, I can really make sure that I'm securing this really well and go into all the areas that I feel like maybe it's just a little bit loose, and I don't have to worry about it looking really pretty, right? So I'm going to pull this through right there, and I think I have that tail pretty secure. I'm going to go through the stitches right there just to make sure, and I'm going to trim that one up. And we'll move on to the next one. So you can see there's my nose starting to poke out. I've got the beginning tail, my chain tail right here, and I can go back and try and catch any areas that I might have missed with the tail that I used for sewing the sides of the nose. So I'm just going to go through, once again, I'm just going through the actual post stitches. So I'm not going to the other side. You can see I have my finger right here just to check that my needle doesn't come all the way through, because I don't want it to come all the way through. And there's that. Let's see, let's go right over here, and I'm going to call that good. I'm going to come up to the top of the nose, and I'm going to cut my yarn up there. All right, we're starting to get some action here. So we have this nice little nose. Now, for the mouth, what Michele Wilcox did is she did some French knots to form the mouth. So she just did some French knots using the Scrubby yarn. Now, I am not that good at French knots, so I'm actually not going to show you how to do that today, but I know that if you want to do French knots, you could do that. If you decided maybe you wanted to do a slip stitch mouth, that's what I'm going to show you how to do, just in case. But before I show you that, I'm going to talk to you about this French knot mouth. One thing that Michele did is, because she didn't want the French knots to show on the opposite side, she made a cover. So right here, I don't know if you can tell, if I move that cover out of the way, can you see the black? She actually made, it's like a little white cover piece, and then she just stitched it down into those nice ridges that I was talking about before to cover all of the unsightly side of the French knots. I thought that was really smart too, so that nothing snags on you. So that's one thing you can do with the French knot. Something that I also like, and something that I know Michele has done also, because she's designed this really super cute Christmas tree scrubby, and you could do a slip stitch. So to do that, you take your hook and you just go into your work, go into where you want your smiley face to be. And on the opposite side, you can see I have my yarn here waiting. I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm just going to pull it up. Now, I'm going to hold on to the tail there, working with my yarn on the opposite side of the snowman. You see that? My yarn's over here, my hook's over here. I am going to begin to just make a smiley face. I put my hook in, I'm yarning over my hook, pulling up a loop, if I can get that to work for me. Pull up a loop, and then I'm going to pull that loop through the loop on my needle. And I'm going to do that just to make a smiley face all the way across. Let's see what that looks like. If you are like me and maybe you don't like French knots and you have a really hard time doing them, I really struggle with them. This is an alternative option for you, and it's something that's not difficult at all to do. So I'm just putting my hook in willy-nilly, just trying to think of, okay, I'm trying to make a smiley face. And as I do that, I'm yarning over, pulling up, and I'm just creating a slip knot. You see that? I think that looks good. Nothing wrong there. Put my hook one more time, and then I'm going to bring that up. It's getting snagged in there. So what you do here to finish, you cut your yarn, so when this comes up, you pull it up and you just weave it into place. So now I'm left with a smiley face. Yes, I don't have the really cute, super cute French knots with the little dots, like it's coal dots, but I like the way this little stitching looks. Plus the fact that we're crocheters and it has a little slip stitch decorative mouth to it, I think that that's cute. So I'm just threading my tail right here onto my needle, and I can go back here, and if I want to, I can kind of just work behind my slip stitch and hide my tail. So I'm not really doing a lot of work here, and I'm trying to make it so that my tail doesn't show. I'm working into the post behind the slip stitch so it doesn't show through. Can you see that? So this is how I'm just going to weave in my tail. This one, it doesn't bother me too much if it happens to show on the other side, but if it does and I want to make a patch just like Michele did to cover up her French knot, you could absolutely do that. Okay? You would do the same thing with this end, and then you will be ready to make the hat. Go ahead, finish the face of your snowman, and then we're going to jump in and we're going to make the hat. We have to make 2 of them, and we're going to sew them together for the top of the snowman. You're almost done. So you've made your face, and now it's time to make the hat for your snowman. Take a look down here. I'm going to show you what we need to do. The instructions state that we need to do a chain 18 and then skip 4 chains and work a double crochet in each chain to the end, and we'll end up with 16 double crochets. I've gone ahead and done that because I know that you already know how to do double crochets and you really don't need to see me count to 18 one more time. But you will notice that I have marked my 3rd chain of my turning chains because it does count as a double crochet, okay? So I want to make sure that it is marked. I'm at the end of the row, and I'm going to move on to row 2 of the hat. So this is the cuff of the hat, row 2. And I'm using green for the cuff of my hat because my mom likes the colors green and blue, and so I figured I'd make my hat green and blue for her since this is going to be for her. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And I can go ahead, use another marker, and I'm going to place it into the 3rd chain. Yet again, because that shows that it's the end of my row, right? That's the last stitch of my row. And then I'm going to turn. Now I'm going to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch. So these chain 3s count as a double crochet, and they count as that particular stitch. So I'm not going to work around that. But working around this post right here, I'm going to do a front post double crochet, just like we did when we were doing the face. Now I'm going to do a back post double crochet. So to do a back post, I come behind my work and I come to the right side of my next post, go over the top, and go out the left side. Yarn over, and then I have my hook travel that same path, come up, and I finish my double crochet. Then I carry on and I do a front post double crochet after the back post, and then I do a back post after my front post. After I do these front post and back post double crochet all the way to the end, I'm going to finish off with a double crochet right here into the 3rd chain of my turning chain. Go ahead and complete these front post and back post double crochets. And if you want a refresher on how to do the post stitches, if you're having a little bit of a hard time with them, go ahead and check out the front post and back post double crochet videos that I have right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Once you've completed rows 2 and 3, go ahead and finish off your work and we will jump over to make the hat, okay? All right, so you've made the cuff of your hat. Let's jump in and start on the hat. Now, Michele Wilcox wants us to start on our hat and make it completely separate from the brim and then sew it all together in one piece. I'm thinking we have 16 stitches right here. Why don't we go ahead and just work into those and make our hat? So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. But if you want to follow the instructions precisely, all you're going to do is cast on chain 18 stitches just like you did down here, and then you'll work your row of double crochet back and it'll be so on and so forth, just like we're going to move ahead. I'm just attaching it on as we go because it's just a little bit less seaming that I have to do later on. I did leave my stitch marker right there, so I still know where my last stitch is of my row, and I can see over here is where I finished off my work. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn my work, and I am going to start off with a standing double crochet because she has us begin with a chain 3 when we do our chain 18. You skip 3 stitches to count as a double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the standing double crochet to represent that chain 3 stitch. So I'm going to yarn, I have a slip stitch on my hook. I'm going to yarn over my hook and I'm going to make sure I hold those 2 stitches nice and tight onto there, okay? I'm going to come over here where my last stitch was completed and I'm going to put my hook right into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and it looks just like a double crochet, right? It looks like you're getting ready to work a double crochet. You yarn over your hook, pull through 2, yarn over your hook, pull through 2. And we've just completed a double crochet. And so it's sitting on there. It's our double crochet. And now we're going to do a double crochet into each stitch to the end, and we're going to get our 16 double crochet like she wants us to have. And I'm just working into the tops of each of these post stitches that we created on the row below. And I'm going to make sure I get 16 on there, okay? So 4, 5, 6, 6, get some more yarn here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I'm here to the very last where my stitch is marked 16. All right, I can remove this marker. Now the next row set of instructions for the top of the hat says that we're going to go ahead, we're going to chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as a double crochet just like before. So I'll take my marker again and I will mark the 3rd chain of that turning chain. I'm going to turn and I'm going to work double crochets all the way across. I'm going to do that for 2 rows. I've completed through row 3 of my hat now, and I'm going to move on to row 4. So I'm going to start off with my chain 3 and turn, and again that counts as a double crochet. So I'm going to use my marker to make sure I know that that is the last stitch of the next round, if it'll snap for me. And I'm going to do a double crochet 2 together. So I'm going to yarn over my hook and not working into this first stitch. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over my hook, go into the next stitch over, and find it right there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops on my hook. So I've just decreased, so I've done that. And I'm going to do that all the way across. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over my hook, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through all 3. See that again. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through all 3. I'm going to do this all the way to the end of this row. Once I get to the end of this row, I'll put a double crochet into the 3rd chain of my beginning turning chain, and I will be ready to move on to row 5. This is really easy. This is not a super difficult shaping section, and the way Michele has written everything out here, it makes it so that it's very manageable to do all of this with this yarn. It makes it very easy. So you should be doing pretty all right at this point. I'm at the end. I'm to where my mark stitch is. I'm going to do just my basic double crochet right there, and I'm on to row 5. I'm going to start off with my chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I can move my marker up. So I undo that one, and I would mark it into the 3rd chain right here. Even though I really don't have to because it's the last row, but I want you to get used to seeing that. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to continue on doing the double crochet 2 togethers. And I skip this first one, and I go into there, and I go into the next one, and I complete it. Yarn over, go into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over my hook, go into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, go through all 3. I'm going to do that again. 1, oops, all 3 loops on my hook, and I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch, and I'm going to double crochet at the beginning chain, so that's where the mark stitch is right there. So I have 6 double crochets. I'm going to go ahead and fasten off, and I'm going to leave a nice long tail because I'm going to use this tail to seam the edge of my hat to the other hat because we have to make 2 of these. So I'm going to make a nice long tail. Go ahead and finish that off. So I yarn over and pull that tail all the way through and off. I can remove my markers. Okay. And I'm ready. I'm done there with my hat, okay? Go ahead and finish your second hat just like this. Join me back here. I'm going to show you how to sew it onto the face of your snowman, and then we're going to make the hanging loop, and we're all done with this project. You have 2 little hats completed. Now let's go ahead and sew them together and attach them to the face of our snowman. If you look down here, you can see I've gone ahead and I've attached one side of my hat to the other side. If you did go ahead and make the brim separate from the hat, the instructions are written in the pattern that it says to go ahead and sew the brim onto the hat, having it overlap a little bit. But as you remember, I didn't do that. I went ahead and crocheted directly onto the brim just to have a little bit less sewing. So now that this side is all sewn together, I've left this side open so that I could show you that I'm going to use my green to sew up the green sections together, and I'm going to use my long blue tail that I left attached to one of the hats because I used the tail from this side to sew all of this. So I'm going to use the tail from this side to sew this down to there. And then we're going to attach it to the snowman. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to thread my tapestry needle, my bent tip steel needle that I've been using this whole time. And I'm just ever so simply holding the hats together, and I'm just going to use a whip stitch. And so I'm finding the corresponding side to this side, okay? So I have this stitch here and that stitch there. And I'm just going to whip stitch all the way down. And once again, remember, this yarn lends itself to hide a multitude of sins. So it doesn't have to be an absolute perfect whip stitch. You do want to make sure that you're actually getting into the stitches though. You're not just getting through the eyelash part or the eyelash bits of the scrubby yarn. Otherwise it's not going to be very secure. So you want to make sure you are getting through your stitches, and you can use the tip of your needle to kind of feel your way through the stitches and use your fingertips to make sure that you're getting through stitches. As you're going along, you also want to make sure that you are not having this accidentally line up like that maybe. You want to make sure that the green sections are lined up and the blue sections are lined up, or whatever color you chose to use for your scrubby. And it's just simply putting them together like this, okay? Once I get down here to the very end of my blue, I'm going to go ahead and finish weaving in the blue tail, and then I will pick up the green tail and sew up the green section. I did go ahead, before I started seaming this all together, I tucked in all of my extra tails that I was not going to use for seaming, so that way I didn't have to go back and worry about that later, because I didn't want them to come out of the hat as my mom was using it to wash the dishes or whatever she's going to use it for. So I did go ahead and weave in my ends for that as well. So I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to tuck this into the inside, maybe. Just pop in here, thread this into the inside, and just go through my stitches in here as well to thread my tail in so it doesn't pop through. Once it's all the way through, I'm just going to go, I went in that way, so I'll come back this direction. And I'm making sure that my needle is not going to the opposite side. I have my fingers resting over there, feeling for the steel of the needle. Pull this all the way through. I'll go ahead and give that a snip. Set that aside, and I'm ready for the green. So I'll thread the green, and you'll notice I left this green section really super long because I'm going to use this green that's already attached to sew the hat to the top of my snowman face. So it's a great way to not have to weave in any more extra ends. If you can utilize the tails that are already attached to your project, that's perfect. It just makes things so much easier. And if you haven't noticed yet, I'm all about ease. You know, we have to make so many different projects through the holiday season, usually as gifts. I shouldn't say we have to, but as crafters, we like to make things and really share our love for the craft and give it to the people we love, right? Whether it's a Hanukkah gift, Christmas gift, a teacher appreciation gift, or maybe it's a Secret Santa you're doing at work. It's just fun to be able to do things that give a lot of impact, but they don't take a whole lot of time. And this is one of those projects that start to finish, you'll have it done in about an hour. Like, it's great, and it's so adorable, and it's really unique, and nobody else is going to be giving any of that away, right? All right, so I finished my hat. I've sewn it all up. I have this opening, so I'm going to grab my snowman face over here, and I can go ahead and I can position my hat on the snowman wherever I want to. So on the sample, you can see that Michele Wilcox put it pretty center on the top of the head. I think I am going to tilt mine a little bit, you know, because why not? I think I'm a little bit cockeyed. Why not? Let's just make the hat a little bit to the side as well. So I'm going to add it to the side over there. And as you can see, I just tucked the white part into the hat. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tack it down. So using my yarn that's still attached here, I'm going to go through the green on the back of the hat, through the white on the snowman, and come up. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to go the opposite way and go down. I'm going to do this all the way across, and then I'm going to test it, and if it's secure enough, I'll be done. If not, maybe I'll go back one more time towards the top of the white section. I just want to make sure that the hat is nice and securely attached. This is so adorable. Don't you guys think this is just super cute? It's such a unique little gift, and the way she's put it all together, it's just so easy to make and such a fun project. And I love the idea of being able to use any color you want to use for your hat. For example, this one is the green and blue, and the sample for that Michele made was red and green. You can use pink. You can use you could use this bright orange. Maybe you have a maybe you have a hunter in your life, and this bright orange would be perfect. You can make it like it's a hunting hat on top of a snowman. You could do all sorts of fun things. You know, be creative. That's what we are, right? As crocheters, we are pretty creative. I'm making sure that everything is still attached to the inside as I'm going along, and I'm making sure that I'm bringing my needle through both sides of my hat, and I'm just, again, I don't even know what kind of a stitch this is called, but I'm just going back and forth, sewing this to the hat, making sure it's nice and secure, or not, yeah, sewing the snowman to the hat, making sure it's nice and secure. Once it's all done, you guys, you're going to weave in the green. For me, I'll weave in the green tail. And I'm going to make sure this is nice and closed over here on this end because I don't want it to feel like it's open. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel like the side of my hat is just unsightly. All right, there we are. I'm going to thread it through. I'm going to make a knot and come back. Maybe I'll just kind of thread it through all of it. I'm taking my needle and I'm going through the different layers. I'm just picking up different stitches through my layers and coming up. I'm going to pull my tail through there, and that's where I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to trim that. Now the last part here that we need to add to our hat is our loop, right? This little loop right here, and it's really easy to make. So let's make that just really quickly, okay? So the hanging loop, I'm going to use green for that, and we're going to start off with a slip knot on our hook, and we're going to chain 7. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 7. 1, whoa, try and go fast, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. So I'm coming all the way over here, and I'm going to do a slip stitch to form a ring. So I have this nice big ring, and now I'm going to do 14 single crochet into the ring. So 1, 2, ooh. So I go fast. Once again, it just wants to get away from me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, almost at a double, and 14. And I'll go ahead and I'm joined to the first single crochet I did to make a slip stitch. And then it says to go ahead and finish off. So I would chain 1, grab my scissors, cut my tail, pull that through. Now I'm going to use my tails and sew this to the top of my hat. So a little bit more seaming here. Doesn't take that long. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do one at a time because I find it easier to do that. I've tried to do both tails at the same time because I figured why not, you know, let's try and save time. Once again, I'm always trying to save time. And it just was really big and bulky and I didn't like the way it looked. So I just am threading it through the top of my hat, and I'm going to come back through the single crochet on the loop. And I'm just going to keep doing that all the way through until I feel like it's nice and secure to the top of the hat. So that way it can hang from the sink or from the tub, or if you wanted, if you know the person in your life thinks it's too special to actually use, maybe they hang it on their tree. You know what else would be really cute is maybe you've made a really big gift and you're looking for that special kind of name tag or something to put on a gift, but it's a Secret Santa, so you can't put an actual name. You could put this on there as like the gift tag. I mean, I know it's big and bulky, but then you're hitting two things at the same time, right? Two birds with the same stone. And I think that would be really cute to do also. There's a lot of different scrubby patterns on the redheart.com website as well. I've done videos for 5 different ones, both knitting and crochet. So if you want to check out some of the other videos for the holiday season, maybe you're just like, I just love these scrubbies and I want to make some more of them with this same theme, you can go and check out some of those other videos, and I walk you through how to do the stitches for those as well. There's a Christmas tree, as I said. There's a peppermint. There is an ornament. There is a mitten, and then the snowman. There's lots of really cute things, right? All right, I think I have this on there sewn pretty well. I'm gonna tuck that through, cut that off, and let's take a look at what we have. Okay, here's my snowman. Oh my gosh, that's adorable. That is so cute. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and you are gonna run out and grab some Scrubby yarn and get this free pattern over at redheart.com and make yourself a super cute little snowman. I know my mom is gonna absolutely love this. Hopefully she'll use it at Christmas. I know that the grandkids would think it was really cool that she's washing dishes with something that their mom made, right? I think it's just a lot of fun. If you go ahead and make this Scrubby, please share with me what you made and let me see pictures and tell me what maybe some of your gift giving ideas are. I am always over at facebook.com on the Marley Bird Facebook page, and you can catch me over at marleybird.com. Make sure you hit subscribe so you're up to date whenever there's a new video release, and please smash that like button so that other people know you enjoyed today's video and they can come over here and learn how to make this super cute snowman. I'm Marley Bird for redheart.com.